Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? My name is Varanus, and welcome to Mutilate the Product. This is a custom challenge I made for the Despoil the auction. Now, I will say that adding Don't Make Noise made this challenge way too easy, but that was a fault that I realized after the fact. So forgive me on that front. But I want to use this video to talk about a couple of different subjects. First, the content drought that I currently have had and will probably have for a little while. Let me kind of get the elephants out of the room here. Two different elephants. One, I was trying a different editing software. I wanted to get off of editing from my phone, which is where I do most of my editing and have done all of my editing, and I wanted to try and edit on computer. Now, I used to have some editing software way back in the day, but every time that I try and use that software now, it would crash. So I was like, well, great, I can't use my old software. Let me see if I can find some new software. And all new software is either pay a $60 subscription to be able to actually use the damn thing, use it, but you have to have CapCuts bouncing around the entire screen the entire time that your video is, being watched, or, and this is the one that really bothers me, it is so expensive or so complicated that it's not even worth using. So because of that, I'm back to using YouTube Create. And it has enough features on here that I'm not too worried about it. I can do pretty much everything that I want to do editing-wise. So I'm back to editing, but I'm back to editing in the way that I'm going to edit on my phone. Problem number two is that right now, Invasion Mode, it's hard to get good videos for that. Anytime that I record, I look for three things when I'm in the trial. The first one is, do I get any kill animations? And I don't mean kill animations as in like the execute where I'm like stabbing somebody on the ground. I mean, like, I get the stab animation where I drop them to the ground into the incapacitated state. Do I get any of those? I look at how many times do I get stabs throughout the trial. I look, like, not stabs, slashes. I look at how many times do I nearly get them and then just get badgered with bricks and bottles. And if it looks like it's going to be boring, like there's nothing happening, I'm not going to upload that. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. So I need to figure out something else to do. Either doing some of these challenges, but doing like shorter versions that I could be able to turn into 1-minute shorts, or look into other games that I could be able to do short video. I'm open to both, but I will have to play around with that and see what I'm going to do. So in the meantime, little tiny content drought while I figure out what I'm going to do, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, I have this wonderful video here that I could be able to make for you. So we're going to talk about my wish list for Outlast Trials for season 2026. Now let's talk about what we already know is coming. First, we know that we are going to have, coming up after we finish this Winter Kills 2025, that we're going to be getting kind of a in memory of season, where we're going to be getting a whole bunch of things from the past. We're going to see Toxic Shock, Surveillance, Deep Burns, the Jaeger. We're going to see all of those old events. They're going to come back for a limited time. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I love seeing those events come up because they're fun. They're fun to interact with. It's also going to be fun invasion-wise because you know there's going to be somebody who's going to leave invasion mode, or like allow their games to be invaded, and they're going to play, and they're going to be in the middle of Deep Burns, and it's going to be like, well, great, there's fire everywhere and a guy running at me with a knife. Or it's like, oh, hey, there's a permanent Jaeger and a guy running at me with a knife. It'll be great. It'll be fun. So we'll see how that goes for that time frame. We also know that there's going to be the new, I believe they said there's a new trial environment and a new set of MK challenges along with the invasion updates. I believe that's what it says. Don't quote me on that. I'm going off of memory. I'll have the screenshot up. If you don't remember which screenshot it is, this is the one that looks like the winter background has the Crest twins on it. So I'll have that up so that we can look specifically at what's coming and you can see the accurate info, not just me spewing what I remember off the top of my head. Now, I'm excited for all of that. I'm excited for those invasion changes. I have a couple of ideas of what I would like to see for that. We'll talk about that in the rest of this video. But here's my big wish list. Wish list item number 1, which has an A and a B. A is nerf the stun rig, and B is add more rigs. Now, that sounds like a very big task, and let's talk about the obvious thing. Why would I want the stun rig nerfed. Well, the problem is the stun rig is very much a cookie cutter, does everything. Jack of all trades, master of none, but it is by far better at all of those things than most of the specialized equipment. Let's give you a good example of that kind of a thing. Normally, you can use the X-ray rig to be able to try and find certain objectives that, are like the little battery traps that you have to undo for being able to open a gate in certain trials. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. You can literally just throw your stun rig into an area and it'll pop those open, along with disabling other traps, along with stunning enemies that could have been a problem for you. So you don't ever really have to worry about, finding it with the X-ray rig. The blind rig will stop an enemy that's chasing you, but you have to go to a specific location that you've already preset the mine down. The stun rig doesn't require any preset. You just throw it and it does the work for you. You can use the barricade rig to stop them at a door. You can also throw a stun rig at them and then lock the door, and it does the same thing. The jammer rig is pretty much the only rig. Jammer rig and heal rig are really the only two that kind of have something that the stun rig can't do. The jammer rig can open certain doors. The jammer rig can corrupt enemies to make them vomit a punch. The jammer rig can unlock things, can be able to disable traps or turn the traps into allied traps. There's a lot of different things that you can do with the jammer rig. The problem is that the stun rig can get rid of those traps, can stun the enemy instead of having to make them vomit, and sure, you can't open the locks, but because you have such a very strong point and click stun rig, you can carry lockpicks and not have to worry about holding as many bottles or bricks to be able to deal with the X-Pop, since the stun rig will do all of that work for you. Let's then look at the heal rig, which can be able to cure psychosis and heal you a massive amount. Same deal as I was just talking about with the jammer rig. You can instead, though, use healing and antidotes. So, again, we're looking at a problem where the stun rig outclasses every other rig in just its existence. So something needs to change. Now, you could nerf it by starting to pull effects out of its abilities, at which point it will slowly fall from grace. But the problem is that that's a terrible way to handle it, because if you do that, then whatever rig next takes over the top spot, then that one's just going to have to get parts removed from it, and then now you're just constantly nerfing things. And that's not fun when you're dealing with PvE especially, but it's also not fun in PvP when you just nerf. I mean, hell, take a look at the game that I will never, ever bring up on this channel ever again, Dead by Daylight. God, it grosses me out having to even mention that game. They literally spend most of their time nerfing things rather than trying to balance and buff things that need buffing. And it leads to a very stale experience, because when you like something and you like it not because it's strong, but because, it's fun, but in one specific scenario it's too good, so then they nerf it, so then that one scenario it's no longer too good, it's just okay, but in your uses it's now terrible. You now feel like, well, I want to use it because I like it, but I can't because it's not going to help me win games. That's the problem. You need to figure out a way to do it without just completely gutting things out. Anyways, so that's what they need to do for Outlast Trials. They need to figure out a way to nerf it without actually nerfing it. I have a very good idea of how to do that. Again, these are my ideas. I am not in the game dev balance team. Please do not look at this and be attacking me for my opinions on this. This is simply just me saying, this is what I think would do good, and I'm going to give you my logical reasoning as to why. Remove rig rechargers unless you are running the variator limited use, or limited rigs, I think is what it's actually labeled. That variator requires you to use a rig recharger to gain access to your rig again. Cooldown doesn't matter. So if you have prepared, aka the level 8 of a rig, you can use it at the start of a trial, but then you can't use it again until you use a rig recharger. Kind of annoying, but it's a it's a way to balance it, and it's a variator that is definitely annoying. Okay, great. So that's something you have to deal with. But why would you want to remove it from the base game? Why would removing rig recharges from the base game do anything? Well, look at the other rigs. Any time with the other rig where you could use a rig recharger to be able to use the rig again, it's not really worth it. In fact, if you look at it and you try and figure out a way to make it seem reasonable, it's never reasonable. It's never actually good. Why would you use the rig recharger on, say, the barricade rig? The barricade rig has one of the lowest cooldowns that if you can't wait it out, then you're in a situation where using the barricade rig to try and barricade 2 doors is probably too dangerous for you, and you should be focusing on trying to get someplace safer. Maybe then you could be able to barricade the 2 doors. If you're using the heal rig and you have to use a rig recharger to heal again, then you're probably in a situation where you shouldn't be using the heal rig and you should be running. You know, stuff like that. Maybe you're placing down the blind rig, the mine. Well, once you place down the second one, the first mine goes away. So you either lose the rearm or you lose the first mine entirely. Now, if you lose the rearm, okay, that's one thing. I get it. You're placing it down after they've exploded the mine. You're placing down a second one for them to step on that. Fantastic. It's a cheesy strat, but you can do that. But the problem is that now the whole upgrade of being able to have the mine rearm itself so you can use it again now goes entirely to the waste. Now, that happens naturally when the cooldown goes up and you place another one, but that's the beauty of having that rig, is that it gives you 2 effective uses of don't chase me to X-pop. So you place it down, you get Lilia to chase after you, she pops it the first time, she walks away. It recharges, she happens to sneak up on you again, you run over it, it pops her again. Now you still have your rig on cooldown, but it's very short cooldown, and you've stopped 2 different chases. That's the beauty of it. So the rig recharger really is not going to be benefiting the blind rig. The jammer rig, let's be honest here. Most of the time when people do this, what they do is they use the jammer rig to open a lock. It's like a locker, get a rig recharger, recharge it, and then use that to be able to open a door. When they could have just opened the door. Or they could have done anything else. I don't mean to laugh at people who do that, but it's like there's so many situations where using the jammer rig like that, it's like, come on, you can use something else. So literally the only rig that benefits from rig rechargers, truthfully, is the stun rig, because you can stun an enemy, recharge it, and then you can stun them again. Then you can recharge it, and you can stun them again, and you can endlessly stun them, and it doesn't cause any negative effects for using it. So because of that, it's actually fully beneficial to use it. So when that's the only rig that really benefits. So if you get rid of rig rechargers, you indirectly nerf the stun rig without nerfing the effects of the stun rig. So the stun rig is still a great rig that is able to do all the things, but now it can't do all the things and be reset whenever you need it to be. So now we have a way to nerf that. And I think that is the best way to do it. My opinion. Again, my opinion based off of my experience. Now, some rigs that I have in mind that I think would be fantastic. I'm going to really quickly show a couple of images of the icons for the rigs. Keep in mind, these were AI generated. Now, I'm leaving the Gemini logo on there to make sure that people don't think that I'm trying to hide the fact that it's AI generated or some shit. No, I had to, because I am a terrible artist. I can't draw to save my life. And I don't have money right now to be hiring an artist, so my best option is to use AI to really quickly copy the icon style. So, forgive me for using AI art. I have a plan for a video that I really want to do later down the road, but I will need to use a real artist for that one. So, when that video comes around, I will do that. And yes, even though I just shat all over the game Dead by Daylight, it would be about Dead by Daylight, but you'll understand when you get there, when we get to that video. That's probably a video in like June or something. But again, I will need money. I will need to get that money and hire that artist. That is a future thing. For now, please deal with my AI art. I am sorry. So first, we have the beacon rig. Now this is a rather simple one. You get to place down a beacon somewhere in the trial. Now, this is talking about baseline. This is not talking about with upgrades and anything. Baseline, you place this beacon down. It has this low hum to it. So if an enemy gets too close to it, they will be able to hear it. They'll get attracted to it and they'll break it. Okay? But if you place it someplace where they can't hear it, then they'll just walk around and won't even notice it. At any point, you can activate your rig and it'll set off that beacon. And when it does, it creates, basically, imagine the same area that a screamer creates noise. It creates the same size and range of noise that is constant. So it's going to aggro enemies from all in that range to its location. And eventually, one of the X-Pop will break the rig, like break the beacon, and that's it. Rig is done. Some of the upgrades that I have in mind for it are, my favorite one is that if you are running in the same vicinity as it, and you activate it, it will end the chase. The X-Pop will end the chase because that will be such a distraction that they won't be able to continue the chase. Another one is a ping that allows you to actually see its location at all times. And the third one that I came up with is removes the hum. So it no longer makes any noise, it is completely silent. And the only time that enemies will be able to deal with it is if they randomly bump into it, or if you activate it, then they'll be able to break it. So that's the beacon rig. The next one is the breach rig. This one's my personal favorite. So the breach rig allows you to place a bomb onto a door or onto a barricaded door, and you'll be able to blow it at any time manually, or if an enemy interacts with it, it will blow it. Now, what do I mean by an enemy interacts with it? Well, let's say you walk into a room, you lock the door, and then you place the breach rig, and then you step back. The enemy bashes the door bunch, right? Well, while they're bashing the door, nothing happens. Once they bash in, the door would actually open. The breach rig will go off. It will destroy the door and send shrapnel flying out, which will knock the enemy flat on their butt, giving you an opening to escape. Now, some upgrades would be that it doesn't destroy the door anymore. It literally just slams the door open, but still has the same effect. You can be able to arm it faster, and what was the other one? I came up with a couple of them. I'd have to look at my notes, but literally the whole point of it is that it allows you to make doors into traps for enemies that are really, really scary for them. Like, really difficult for them to deal with. So the whole point of it would be that you run into a room, you place that, you know you're going to be going back out that door. So the instant they bash that door open, you're running. And then the third one, this one is the most interesting, and it also has the most potential for being game-breaking. It is the tracker rig. It allows you to, at a distance, fire a little tracking dart. The enemy will be notified, like as if you threw like a bottle at their head, and they'll turn and they'll look over in the direction that they felt it. So they'll be able to feel that, and they'll know that somebody from over there hit them with something. But what it'll do is it'll constantly ping a location for you every few seconds, letting you know exactly where they are. Only you can see it, nobody else can see that ping. If they are an enemy that leaves through an elevator, when they come back, they're still going to have that ping in them, so you will still see them as they come back in. So if you throw this on a pitcher, anytime the pitcher enters, you will see them. Now, the only upgrades that I put for this, that I came up with, the first one makes it so that then, if you ping this onto an invader, it takes extra time for them to remove it. So they'll be able to remove it just on their own. They can just spend 30 seconds really quickly, locate it, grab it, pull it out. Easy peasy, no problems asked for them. The making it harder means that it no longer takes 30 seconds, it now takes 5 seconds for them to remove it. It's an invasion only upgrade, so it'd be one of those, it would have to be an upgrade that could come with something else. Another upgrade would be that it makes the ping interval shorter, so that instead of it being like a ping every 4 seconds, it's now a ping every 2 seconds or ping every 1.5 seconds. You get to really more readily see their movements. And then another one that shares the ping. So every few pings, it is given to your teammates as well. They will see the location of that enemy. And it'll also tell them which enemy type it is, because the ping will be, you know, the Mother Gooseberry, or like the little gooseberry icon, or it'll be the Franco Barbie, or whatever character it is that you ping, it will show their icon for that. Those are some example ones that I have. And again, they're not overly powerful that they're going to take over the role of the stun rig. Breach rig has the potential, but that one is very more nuanced, I think, and so it allows for a little bit more fun gameplay. I think the only thing you would have to be careful of is that you can't have both a breach and a barricade on a door. And I think that that's something they would have to hard code in. And the only reason I say that is because if you had to spend, if an enemy spent like 5 or 6 kicks breaking open a door and then got smashed back, it's like you basically have the old strong arm. And that was kind of stupid. Old strong arm was stupid, let's be honest, guys. Let's talk next about... Wow, my brain just totally froze. Oh, yes, wish number 2. Now, wish number 2 is a little bit interesting of one. This is kind of a personal one to me because I'm a fan of the X-ray rig. Buff the X-ray rig. This is a nuanced one, right? Because the X-ray rig is good, but it's not good. But I can tell you how we can make it good. And this would be kind of a little bit of a system overhaul for the game, but it would be very beneficial to the game. So the first thing is that you would have choices that you can make for your character that are equivalent to your ESOP, which would be your rig, your night vision. You can change which type of night vision you have. There'll be multiple types. And then your communicator. There will be multiple types for that. And in fact, some of the rigs that I've designed as rigs would be replaced with communicators, or would be replaced into the night vision, or different things like that. You would have different ones that can affect different things. So the idea would be that you could buff X-ray by making it into the night vision. So your night vision would no longer be, you pull it down and you have night vision, like night vision sight. You now have X-ray sight when you pull it down. It burns through your battery like a motherfucker. So you have to be careful. You can't just power this thing on and expect that you're going to be able to use it infinitely. You're going to have to constantly be getting batteries. Maybe as you upgrade it, it gets a little bit less on the battery consumption, but not by much. It gives you a massive range, does all the normal stuff. If you ever go into low power mode removes all of the fancy vision and only lets you see enemies. Like literally, you can't even see the environment around you. It's pitch black except for little skeletons walking around. So you have to hope that you are walking in the right direction. Because unlike in the low light night vision, you literally have nothing. You have nothing. So good luck. I think that this makes it more fun and makes it a more engaging rig, because it's now part of your night vision, or what would be your night vision. And it's just a nice buff for it. But even if they don't do that, if they just buffed night vision on its own, it needs something. And I think the first buff that it needs is the jammer rig needs to not be able to detect Lilia Bogomolova, and the X-ray rig should detect Lilia Bogomolova. Keep in mind, when it comes to every other prime asset, you use a night vision, you can see prime asset traps, and you can identify them as prime asset traps. Right now, if you use the night vision in the resort, every single one of those Lilia statues has a full-blown skeleton inside of them. So you do not get any information about which one's Lilia, or even more so than that, which one's trapped. You're required to use the black light. Now, I personally would love if you could just use the night vision, not have to use the black light at all. It'll show, like, you'll be able to see that one has a gem, that one has a bomb. You know, that would be fantastic, and I would love that. However, I understand if that breaks the mechanic of them really wanting you to carry around that black light. Fine, totally respectable. At least let it be able to identify Lilia. Let the X-ray be able to identify Lilia, because that is literally the only thing that the X-ray rig is supposed to be good for, is identifying enemies and items, and major objective points like the keys. And what you've done with Lilia is made it so that then it can't do that. So give that back to it, please. And remove the jammer rig being able to detect her, because that is stupid. I'm sorry, but it makes the trial completely brain dead. Anybody who's like, oh, I struggle to be able to find Lilia, run the jammer rig. Run the jammer rig, get it to the level where you can corrupt enemies, don't even use it. Just point it. Just point it around, and if all of a sudden it lights up when you point at one of the mannequins, congratulations, that one's Lilia. It's so dumb. It is literally pointless. So don't. It's, oh god, it's depressing. So yeah, that's my wish. Buff the X-ray rig. Indirectly, I guess it would nerf the jammer rig because of the buff I wanted to do for Lilia, but that's just me. Next, I would love to see what I'm going to be calling by kits. Kits is basically rigs for invaders. Again, right now, invasion, like I've talked about, is a knowledge game. Give the invaders something that allows them to have skill. I can come up with two right off the top of my head. The first one is just called resistance. And what it does is that you can activate it, and your character literally just like covers their face with their arms, and for the duration of that, any stuns, bottles, damage, or anything that they would take is reduced down to the barest of minimum, meaning like they take basically negligible damage. And they do not get stunned, they do not get like gassed out, they get nothing. No effects happen to them. They literally just stand there and block. Give this a couple of upgrades where you can like increase the duration, you can move faster while doing it. If you get close enough to an enemy, you could be able to stab them from it. You know, you do different things like that. And then the other one is throwing. When you enter the trial, you are given, you give them a set amount, and then you can buff it with upgrades of throwing knives. And you can pull those out and you can throw them. It basically throws almost identically to a brick, maybe just give it a little more travel time or something. I don't know. Brick barrels can figure that part out. But you can throw the knives, and if you hit somebody, deals a bracket of damage. They're given a small, it's like you're given a small cooldown between each one, so you can't just like throw it and then wait for them to finish their stagger animation and throw it and be able to hit them again and then pick it up and then throw it again. You can't do it like that. It would be like throw, hold, and now you can arm again. So they get a chance to be able to hide the same way you get to hide from Franco Barbie. But the goal would be that now you have a ranged tool. If you're far enough away, you could just be like, I'm gonna let them. It's like I'm gonna let them stand far away. Throw that knife and be able to deal some damage. I would still put the tag that if you down somebody utilizing a throwing knife, it forces you to leave via the elevators. Truthfully, I think that anytime you down somebody with an attack, it should force you out via the elevators. I hate the fact that right now there's a bug where you can. I don't know if it's a bug. Bug or feature, I don't know, but if you use a slash, and you go slash, and it hits them, and they go down from the slash, and you don't do the little fancy slash animation to drop them to the ground, then you are still allowed to stay in the trial, and it feels so dumb, so dumb. So yeah, that needs changed. That needs fixing. But yeah, if you throw a throwing knife and that downs them, you gotta go. And I think what you could do is then add more execute animations. You can put different execute animations for whichever rig you're using. Or, not rig, kit. Maybe the baseline knife can be its own kit. Like the original chemicals, you like adjust them to make it into its own thing, and that's called the imitation kit. It allows you to imitate the reagents more. It makes you masked and you look like them, whereas if you run the others, you'll look like your normal character. There's no hiding it. You are literally always the imposter to them. They can spot it a mile away. They don't even have to be like, is that one? No, that might be my teammate. There's no guessing. There's always just Maybe that it's like, so like there you go. You now have 3 kits right there. You've got your imitate kit, your resistance kit, and your throwing knives kit. And now you can have different. It's like so that then you can have somebody with resistance go in there and start tanking stun rigs. They start throwing them, and he like tanks them up. So then they're like, oh shoot, we just wasted all of our stun rigs. The throwing knife guy comes in and starts throwing knives at people from a distance. Then now everybody's scattering. Now all of the problems that exist, where they can be able to use certain knowledge things to just get away with whatever they want as the reagents, they no longer can do that. There's now a real threat. Let's see, what else is there? I think the next thing that I would really wish for is there's a map that I've been designing in my head. I actually have a full document talking about it. Maybe in a later video I'll, create something for that. But the idea behind this map is instead of having just one prime asset, there's always two prime assets. And it's not like, oh, it's random prime assets. It's literally, there's always two prime assets in the trial. It's the same two for each type of map that you do this with. So the map I came up with, I called it by Old Town. This was designed before Pledge of the Prosecutor came out. But basically Old Town would be like, kind of a cross between the police station and Pledge of the Prosecutor. It'd be like another section of the map where, you have a little bit of like, in one corner you have like a residential area, and then the rest of the map you have like a kind of more suburban city area. And so when you're in the suburban city area, you're finding out, it's like you're being told there's this this criminal who's running this drug ring, and you need to go and kill them. Your job is to go and kill this drug leader. Don't know why you're trying to kill this drug leader, but you're just trying to kill this drug leader. And you've got the corrupt police officer who is, supporting this criminal activity. You've got Franco Barbie, who literally is part of the criminal activity, so they're both in on this. So the whole idea behind this trial would be that you would need to go and get different areas of the map to have these problems. You'd be setting fires. And when you set these fires, then these very special versions of the Heavy X Pop, they are dressed up to look like, thugs of the mafia, are going to go and they're going to deal with it. And you close the doors behind them and you lock them in, so that then they're trapped and they burn down with the building. And you do this in all these different areas. There's like 4 of them, so you get rid of 4 different mob bosses. And then once the mafia boss realizes what's going on, he goes to hide in his mansion. So now you go to the mansion, and there's one of 2 ways in. One is through knowing the security code for their private locker room, or like their private security room. And the other is through this ventilation system that somebody will have to crouch through. The ventilation system requires coordination between you and another player, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're solo, it would require perfect timing because it's going to be on a sequence. If you are smart, though, you'll notice that in each of the environments that you have to go deal with the mob bosses, there is some elements that you can be able to look at. These elements are things such as a scrambled piece of coded paper, and then one is a code that allows you to break that, but you have to figure out some of the pieces that are missing. So you have to go to another one that has those missing pieces, and you have to put it all together. And if you do, then it tells you the code of the security room is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You put it in, get in there. And when you get in there, you see the the mafia boss tied down to a big old comfy chair. It's supposed to look like, they're ready for you to go in there and perform. It's set up, it looks exactly the same as like every other trial. There's some little mini game you're going to have to do with the prime assets chasing after you, and you need to kill them. But this is where it's going to be different, because I like to design something funky and different. This guy manages to break free of the restraints and runs away. And you hear Easterman's voice come in, and he just says, "Change of plans then. Go to the next room. I have a gift waiting for you." And you go in there, and it literally looks like you're breaking into like a little sub room of the like Murkoff warehouse, and you see that there's now some guards staring at you, a little funky, like the actual Murkoff guards, but there's 4 knives waiting there, and they're locked behind a thing where you have to your character would have to take their rig off, place it in there, and then it would allow you to grab the knife. And now you get to go back into the mansion, and you run around as an invader, so to speak, stabbing the crap out of this guy. The only thing I would do is that if there are invaders in your game, you can't stab them, so you lose the ability to damage them with your rig, because you have to use that knife to damage the actual target. You can still throw bricks and bottles, you just can't stab them with knives. And the only reason that I would do that limitation is because then, if you could, you and the other four, or the other three players in a four-man team would be impossible to deal with. So yeah, that's a no-go. But they can go and stab that other guy. They can go stab him and stab him and stab him and just go at it. Again, you lose access to your rig, but you now have the ability to stab that guy. Once you bleed him out and he dies, you can either run back into that room to get your rig back, or you can run straight out to the elevator. Either way, or not the elevator, the escape. You pick either leave without it, and you're just like, well, I'm fine. I don't need to worry about getting my rig back. And you leave, or you go back and get your rig in case you're gonna need it. Maybe you need a stun rig to be able to stun an enemy on your way. Who knows? But that would be the whole point of it, and it would be kind of fun. I think that would be a really cool trial. But that's just my creation off the top of my head. I would love to see what Red Barrels would come up with for a trial where you have two prime assets at the same time. What if you had a map where Lilia Bogomolova was one of the prime assets and it's with Franco Barbie? So you've got like this kind of sexual tension thing where, Lilia Bogomolova is like, this like enticing woman. And he's like, oh, I would just love to blah, 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 make up the Franco Barbie lines that are fucking sick and perverse of all kinds. And then you have Lilia just saying something it's like in her tongue is talking about how terrible of a person he is. It would just be cool. I think it would be great. I'd love to see that. I would also love to see how is Lilia going to work when she's not in a map that requires the way her kit works. How would they change it? That would be cool too. There's one more thing on my wish list that I really have, and then after that, I'll let you guys just watch the rest of me perform this insanely long video of me trying to accomplish this objective. The last thing I would want is a competitive mode. And they're probably like, oh, well, there's the invasion mode. What more do you want for competitive mode? This is different. This is a different type of competitive mode. So I'll explain the base game, and then I'll explain how it works depending upon the different number of players. So you and the enemy team of equal number of players, you're going to be placed into two identical looking like chambers so you can see each other and taunt each other for a quick little moment because, it gives you the freedom to taunt players without actually being like toxic about it in regards to like, teabagging somebody or like, spamming voice chat. You just get to like emote, you can like wave at them, you can be able to say thank you, group up, ping them however you want like that. You just get to see them. But what is really important is that you're going to see on the door that you're about to leave through, there's a screen above you that is going to tell you what team you are on and what team you are fighting against. Now, what that means is that you might be on team Leland Coil, or you might be on team Mother Gooseberry, or what have you, whichever prime asset. And then it's going to show you right next to that screen which one was rolled for your opponents. Your map that you go into is going to have your opponent's prime asset. Your opponents are going to have your prime asset. You will hear your prime asset talking on your radio all the time. And I don't mean talking as in like every time they see an enemy, they're gonna be like, I found the bitch or some crazy stuff. No, I just mean like you will hear them being like, why are you gonna fucking do this? It's like, are you gonna fucking do your job, or am I gonna have to go over there and do it myself? Worthless commies, Leland Coil being Leland Coil. Mother Gooseberry being like, children, are you going to do a mother's asking? And then Dr. Futterman being there, it's like, do I need to drill your fucking eyeballs out for you to be able to see properly? Make up some bullshit. But the whole point is that you'll be flooded into this map. You first have to enter, and the first objective that is always there is that you have to go around and find 5 posters. Because, that's a standard one that everybody's used to. It's a secondary objective. You just have to go into the map and find these 5 posters. Now, the map is literally just your you just create a map with some average loops and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be any specific building, but it needs to be identical, meaning that what you see when you enter is the same thing that your opponents are going to see when they enter. But you're on 2 separate maps. They cannot see what you're doing, you cannot see what they're doing. What you will see, though, is at the very top, on your HUD, you will see your progress and their progress. So the very first one will just be collecting posters. Once you've collected all 5 posters, then the first mission will actually begin. The whole point of doing that is to force your team to spread out, because if you all stick together, you're not going to find the posters as fast as if you spread on out. So the goal is force you to spread out. If you successfully do that, then everyone on your team is immediately given a buff. They're not given any negatives yet. Keyword is yet, but your team immediately gets a buff. My idea is that everyone, whatever build they're running, like that they run into it, their rig always starts at level 1, and so then the first thing you get is it gets buffed up to level 2. Congratulations, you completed the first objective. You get buffed up to level 2 for your rig. And you can put little icons that tell both sides, like, hey, they're at level 2 rigs, you're at level 1 rigs. Or, hey, they managed to just finish this objective, they got to level 5 rigs, you guys are still at level 3, what are you doing? You know, you could see that kind of stuff. But the map is literally designed to have every single type of challenge you can imagine. Do you need them to go and start gathering evidence boxes and burning it? How many evidence boxes? And they'll just spawn. They just appear out of, not so much out of thin air, like it's not like if you go stand in the corner and watch, they'll just magically appear. You'll actually see them kind of like, the wall will like turn, and a body would appear with one of the, it's like with the evidence box, or, you know, the wall turns and there's just an evidence box there, or, you know, the shelf, a door slides open behind it and you watch a researcher place a box in there. However, some little funky little animation, something if you happen to be in the right spot, you can see it happen, and it looks real. It doesn't look like magical and mystical or some shit. So you see that happen, you complete the objective. After that first objective, every objective comes with a reward for the winning team, the team that completes the objective the fastest, and a punishment for the team that didn't. So if your team completed the objective first, you get a buff, aka your rig levels up. Your opponent's team gets a variator added to their trial. Now these variators are different from the normal variators that we're used to from like the custom trial maker or anything else. These are variators where it's going to be like add to XPOP. So now in the map there's 2 XPOP on top of your prime asset that you're dealing with. Or it's going to say add a Jaeger for 7 minutes. So now for the next 7 minutes you've got a Jaeger chasing after you. That's like you got Jaeger in the map chasing after someone, or whatever it is. In any way, the whole point of it would be that eventually one team will die because they will be unable to accomplish anything. They will be so overwhelmed, they will just die. Whichever team is the one that is able to survive all the way through, their team will complete the objective, their exit will open and they can run out. The other team has failed. End of story. Now the way this would be different is depending upon the number of players. If it is a 1v1, then you're going to be on a very small map, and you have very simple objectives. These objectives are going to be like, you know, hunt down the scapegoat, and the scapegoat has 2 charges on their bomb. As compared to if it was a 4-player game, it's going to be hunt down 3 scapegoats with each having 3 charges on their bombs. It's going to be a lot harder, a lot more chaotic. If you are dealing with a 2-player mission, you're going to be on the medium map. So 2v2 is on a medium-sized map. There's a little more space for you to be able to roam around and find stuff, but it's not as punishing. But it's not as big as the 3-player map, which is the largest map. Now, keep in mind, I know there's 4 players. I'll get to that in a second. So with the 3 players, you get the larger map. With 4 players, you're on the same map as the 3-player mission. However, one of you is going to be told that you have to go into a different door. And you will see that when you have your exit door, there's going to be the main door that leads out into your map, and then there's going to be this little side door. And one of you has to go into the side door. Whoever goes in, they're locked in on that role. Everyone else is in the main trial. When you go in the side door, you are now an invader. You will be invading into your opponent's map. The cameras in there cannot be busted, so there's no point in busting them, but you can't ping, you can't do nothing, you literally are just using it for vision. However, again, the XPOP that are on there, it's like in your enemy team's map, are your allies. They will inform you as the invader where they are. They are your eyes and ears. So if your prime asset, let's say your team is Mother Gooseberry, so when Mother Gooseberry sees someone, she's going to ping them out so that when you're invading, you can help her. She's not going to attack you. She's on your team. So you don't have to worry about the X-Pop in this version of Invasion, because this is a whole different ballgame. Now, when you invade, you are only invading for limited amounts of time. You still don't get to be out there permanently. You get a limited amount of time, go out there, then you have to go back. If at any point, as the invader, you die, you lose all your health. One of the X-Pop or the prime asset is going to grab you and toss you in an elevator. You will then pop out on your team's side out of one of those elevators. Your team can use a revive syringe to revive you, and then you will immediately have to go back through that elevator and go back to invading into your opponent's side. If at any point your entire team is dead and only you're alive as the invader, you will be given a timer that will replace however long you were supposed to still be in the trial. If you can get 1 kill in the time that you are left there and not die yourself, you will revive one of your teammates, and they will be given a syringe out of a local item dispenser. So you can be able to help your team recover by doing that. This does not mean, like, in general, like, oh, you kill somebody and your team gets items. No, your whole goal normally is just slow them down enough that your team can be able to get their objective completed, because you slowed down the enemy team much longer than their invader did. And this is the whole point of it, is just fun competition with a potential invader if you're at 4 players, but the goal of it is just absolute chaos of just being reagents, which I think is kind of where the main fun is of Outlast Trials, and this kind of a mode would allow for really long matches. These matches can go on for a long time depending upon the skill level or knowledge level of each of the players. And the skill that would come in is knowing the maps, how to navigate the maps, and how to properly deal with X-Pop in many situations to be able to complete the objective faster than your opponent. And I think that that's going to be a really beautiful thing for the game if they were to do that. Again, I don't want them to implement it the way I described it. I want Red Barrels to do what Red Barrels does best. And maybe what I've described is exactly the way Red Barrels would do it. If that is, fantastic. Red Barrels, you have my full permission to make that. If it is not the way that you would do it, Red Barrels, totally fine. I have no quarrels with you changing it or doing something completely different. But give us some kind of mode that's similar-esque in that. Anyway, that is it for me in regards to this whole spiel rant of what I want to see in 2026. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. I'll let you guys watch me quietly try and navigate around dealing with our lovely Lilia Bogomolova, the newest prime asset. Hope you guys all enjoy. Have a good rest of your day, and Happy New Year.
Don't do this! Please. Please. No, don't do this. God.
Come on.